There's a specific set of arguments which, for the longest time, I honestly just couldn't get my head around. I would read them, I would reread them, and I'd think, okay, I'm reasonably familiar with the type of worldview this author clearly has, but I honestly don't see what their point is. Their argument surely is not meant to convince anyone who disagrees with them. I think everyone knows what the other side would say in response. And even as a piece that's just meant to preach to the choir, it doesn't even seem grounded enough for that. It's just illustrating how the author feels. And I've realized that might just be it. There seems to be a certain set of arguments whose goal is not to put up any kind of front against the enemy, either as a challenge to the enemy or as a show of force for like-minded people, but just to communicate how your enemy's arguments make you feel. It's not about the arguments themselves, it's about how the debate impacts you emotionally. Indeed, in the wake of James Damore's Google memo, many of the articles that were critical of it didn't actually argue against the content. Rather, they argued against the fact that the content was presented at all, regardless of how true it may be. One example was this article I reviewed in a previous video, which made the satirical argument that there are fewer male sex workers because men just can't cut it. Which, I observed, maybe they can't. I'm not going to let my injured feelings ruin what could be a perfectly sound argument, had the author provided any data to support her claims. Another example is this comic strip, and this is the one I really struggled to understand. Surely the author must realize that, in her opponent's mind, there is an important and indeed foundational difference between a sperm cell and a fertilized egg cell, so no one on the other side will give this a second thought. And yet, she still bothered to write this panel, apparently just to bemoan the fact that it's unpleasant to hear these arguments. I just wanted to share these examples because, quite frankly, I was not prepared for this level of intellectual laziness.